What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another video. Before we start this unboxing of this beautiful box that I have right in front of me, I just gotta admit I was a little curious before I opened it up to see what it was, and I am super happy to say I know what it is. So, first off, I want to give a huge thank you to the company MaXpeedingrods. If you haven't heard of them before, make sure to go to the link in the description down below. They sell a ton of stuff, H-beam rods, coilovers, a whole bunch of aftermarket components. They reached out to us and they were more than happy to work with the build, and they really wanted to supply something that's really going to do some efficient work. And if you can already guess, we have coilovers. So not just are they super great in construction, I already opened this one out of the sleeve, but I was looking over it and it has, first of all, the bottom adjustment for the height, and it also has the locking collar for it. Then it also has the preload adjustment on this section right here, like most coilovers that you can buy on the market have at this time. One thing that only about maybe 30 or 40% of the coilovers on the market that I see right now have is this next thing that is super important: dampness adjustment. So not every coilover has this, some coilovers do. Not to say that the ones that don't aren't good coilovers, but the ones that have this are so much more, how do I put this, fine-tunable for your specific setup. So it's as simple as clicking over, and I don't know if the camera will pick up the noise, but you can definitely notice the clicks. So there should be an instruction sheet right here, which there is right there. And that definitely goes over how your adjustment for the dampness is through this little knob up there. But this is one of the front coilovers. So it also comes with the spanner wrenches that you actually need to adjust properly the collars and everything. Some people like to do the flat head with a hammer, and sure, you can use it if you're in a pinch, but it's always important to have the proper spanner wrenches. It saves you a lot of headache instead of splitting the adjustment rings or anything. I've done so in the past. Going over to the paperwork that I mentioned earlier, there's a little spec sheet that goes over everything that the coilover has, going from the material to actually has an instruction with how to do everything, a 1 through 9 step process on how to install the coilovers, which is really cool. Not a lot of companies do that. And if I go over to this right here, we have a customer service card, which I think is also pretty awesome. It goes with their website, MaXpeedingrods. Like I said, check out the link in the description below. Over here we have the front one, which I just pulled out. And going over to the next, we have the rear coilover. And same for the front. As the front, it has the adjustment on the height from the bottom and the preload on the center, and the top for the dampness right under this little rubber cap. So I'm just gonna get these all unboxed right now, set them on the table, and we'll actually go from there. And there are these little collars, which I think is for if your chassis is slightly different than the coilover, since they are kind of a universal coilover for the Honda chassis, you can kind of just slip these over the bottom right here, and it's kind of an adjustment so the fork on the bottom can grab and not have any issues whatsoever. And if I'm not mistaken, these little washers are for the bottom right here. If you're having lower control arm issues, it's kind of like a spacer or a shim, if you would, which is really awesome. I don't think we're going to be needing them for this specific because the coilovers are for this car, but it's always nice to know that the company sends you what you might need just in case. If you skip over to the next clip, we'll actually be installing these onto the car. So I went ahead and put the rear coilovers on. I'm not sure if you were able to pick up in the time lapse, but I also took off the rear sway bar that we're not going to be using for this particular setup. And I found for the easiest way to do this is to drop the lower control arm from the subframe side, not off of the spindle or trailing arm assembly. It just makes a lot more clearance so you can pull things forward, and the coilover goes in easier, and the stock shock and spring assembly comes out a lot easier. Earlier I had said it's a 14mm nut, but actually with the aftermarket coilover, it's a 15mm. Everything goes on really smoothly, and I'm really liking this product. I can't wait to take it out for for a test drive and actually see how it performs with the dampness adjustment and everything. Just got done with the rear on the other side of the car. I just did the front as well. So the coilovers are completely installed. This took overall about 25-30 minutes to do both sides, and that was pretty much taking my time. If you guys saw earlier, I had quite a bit of a mess right here, but it really only took more than 3 or 4 tools. That was just because I just came back from the junkyard and I had a whole bunch of tools in the back and I was just digging through it. But yeah, I am super happy with the quality of them. I'm not going to touch the dampness adjustment just yet because I want to have the car set up and everything. Since it's all-wheel drive, or it's becoming all-wheel drive, I haven't actually dove into the suspension tuning of one, so there's a lot of research that I want to do. And once we have the car running and actually driving, we can dive into that head on, and the ability that this suspension has to adjust is just going to make the fine tuning of the suspension so much easier opposed to the stock suspension or just a regular coilover that doesn't have dampenability adjustment or ride height adjustment or preload adjustment. So we're really going to benefit a lot from this. I want to give a huge thank you to MaXpeedingrods. Once again, if you haven't seen their company, make sure to check out the link in the description. I'm going to have all of their information right there.